Ladies and gentlemen, this is take 256 of this really complicated song. So please, go with me on this and forgive me if I screw up. So I'm gonna give you a couple tests where you check your value prioritization. I would like you to apply this to all of your actions. So the first test is role exchange, then universal consequences. New cases, then higher principles. Now the role exchange is where you go and put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you were to do it to you, would you be okay with it? Just work with me on this one. So an example would be if you were to cheat on your partner. How would you feel if they did that same thing to you? You gotta ask yourself when you have an action, how would you feel if you were on the other end of said action? Now the universal consequences test is kind of the same, but you apply it to a bigger thing like everyone else. So an example of this is if you throw your trash out the window. If everyone else did it, would it still be acceptable? I imagine that it probably isn't, so you have to ask yourself if what you do still applies to everyone else. Now the new cases test is a little more complicated, and I'll try and do my best to give you an example. Work with me, this is not easy. So consider that you're a photographer, but you believe in freedom of press, but you took pictures of a murder. So now you have these photos that you want to use, but the police come to you and say, bro, we need those. So you have to ask yourself with a value prioritization. Do you prefer freedom of press or solving a crime? At first you thought it was freedom of press, and then you thought about it some more. If it was a loved one of yours, do you want the murder solved? So with the new cases test, you have to apply it to your hardest case. If the principles still apply, then I guess it's okay. Now the higher principles test is a little complicated, so let me give you an example of how it's related. You have a roommate who's kind of messy and they never do their dishes, and you're kind of bitter and you want to be a little spiteful. So you decide whether or not you want to do your dishes or leave them in the sink like your roommate did just to prove a point. But the problem is your principle is that you live with integrity. So you find yourself doing your dishes because you're not that person. So instead of leaving dirty dishes and being a spiteful person, you sit down with your roommate and explain the problem. So forgive me on this principles test song. It's not very easy, but know that my intention here is to show you how you can apply them to your life. So go ahead and take a look at all of these tests and apply them to your personal life. Forgive me on this, guys. I'm trying. Anyway, let's end it like this. It's good enough. Good enough.